just welcome you to another video of Access Online, and just let me be the first to say that I really miss you all, and I so look forward to being able to have these conversations face to face. But hang in there. We are gonna have to postpone Access until mid-April to just keep in line with what the state recommends, but that's not too far away, so hang in there. Before we begin today's video, I do have a few announcements that I'd like to make. Number one, just like I said last week, keep connected. It has been super encouraging to hear how many of you have been connecting with each other through texting, through Google Hangouts, through Zoom, through your small group leaders sending postcards. That is awesome. And if you haven't been connected in any way, it might be because you either haven't reached out yourself or because we don't have your correct contact information. And so if you think you've been skipped, shoot me a message and we can figure that out. But number two, did you receive your Access Care package, the bingo game, the candy, stuff like that? Sarah and I, we were able to drop a whole lot of these Access Care packages off at people's homes on Monday, but because of the mandated lockdown, we really can't do that anymore. So if you didn't get one, if you didn't get your care package, there is still a way to get one. What you got to do is you got to come here to the church. Our main doors are going to be locked. Everything's locked down. The church is shut down. But the front doors are open, and so you can go in, and maybe during when your parents are doing grocery shopping or something, you can really quickly stop by and come grab one from the plastic tub that we have set just inside the front doors. But anyway, here is this week's video. Here is Access Online, and I hope it is encouraging to you all.
To all our questions, there will be an answer. In all our trials, you remain. Even in the valley, hope is rising. Peace, it has a name. Christ the Lord, who stays the same. Just like the walls came down at Jericho, just like the armies fled when worship rose, we believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. Just like your voice, it calmed the raging sea, just like the veil was torn through Calvary. We believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. In all our questions, there will be an answer. In all our trials, you remain. Even in the valley, hope is rising. Peace, it has a name. Christ the Lord, who stays the same. Just like the walls came down at Jericho, just like the armies fled when worship rose, we believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. Just like your voice that calmed the raging sea, just like the veil was torn through Calvary, we believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. For he is alive and he saves forever. He has won the day. For nothing can stand against him, nothing can stand in his way. for he is alive and he saves. For you are alive and you save forever. You have won the day. For nothing can stand against you, nothing can stand in your way. For nothing can stand against you, nothing can stand in your way. For nothing can stand against you, nothing can stand in your way. For you are alive and you save. Just like the walls came down at Jericho, just like the armies fled when worship rose, we believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. Just like your voice that calmed the raging sea, just like the veil was torn through Calvary, we believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. We believe in breakthrough, we believe in you. We believe in breakthrough, we believe in you.
Every step that she took down the hallway echoed like thunder. The stakes had never been higher in her entire life, and as she walked, she thought back, was I making the right decision? Am I doing what I should be doing? Is it worth the risk? But it wasn't only her life on the line, it was everyone else's too. And so with every step, she was encouraged that she was doing exactly what she should have. Why? Because she didn't make the decision alone. Because before this, she had asked for prayer and fasting and encouragement and advice. So walking into the throne room, she knew, even as sweat dripped down her forehead, that it was the right place to be. Her name is Esther. You might not be familiar with her. There's a very small book in the Bible named after her, and that's where we find her story. A little bit of background. So Esther was a young Jew, and she and her cousin Mordecai, who was raising her, lived under a king named Artaxerxes. And Xerxes fired his queen one night after, we won't get into that, but his queen was fired, and so he held a contest to find who's the new queen of the land going to be. And so Esther was taken along with all of the beautiful young ladies in the region, and the king set up these multiple stages to find out which one pleased the king. Which one did he want to be his next queen? And, well, Esther was taken. And then she made it through each level of the contest until eventually he chose her to be the queen. But there was one law in the land. You do not, no matter who you are, enter into the king's presence without permission. To do so is sudden and immediate death, with only one exception. When you entered into the presence of the king, he had a golden scepter in his hand. All day while he was ruling, if he chose, he could extend that scepter to you, and when you touch it, that meant that you were allowed to be in his presence. It didn't happen very often. However, Esther was put in a position where she needed to rely on that favor. See, there was a man working for the king named Haman. And Haman hated the Jews because they wouldn't bow down to him. They wouldn't worship him because they were too busy worshiping God. So Haman set a plot to destroy all of the Jews at one time, and Esther found out about it. She found out that her cousin Mordecai was mourning, and so she asked him why, and his response was, "This is the edict. This is the statement that was made. All of the Jews are to be killed on this day, and we have no right to fight back. It is the end of your people in this region. Go and see the king." Now Esther knew that she couldn't go see the king. Why? Because he hadn't called her. And if she went into the presence of the king, even being the queen, and he didn't call her, the same rules applied as to everyone else. She could be killed. And she would be unless the king decided, "I like her today, I'll allow her to live." So Esther talks back and forth with Mordecai and says, "I can't do this. He'll kill me if I go in there. Maybe there's another way." And Mordecai sends this response. Mordecai told the people to reply to Esther, "Do not imagine that you in the king's palace can escape any more than all of the Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not been put into the kingdom for such a time as this." Now maybe you haven't been in a situation where your life is literally on the line and you're trying to save your entire family and the group of people you grew up with from certain death. In fact, I'd say most likely none of you have been in that position, which is a great thing because Esther, I don't think, enjoyed it very much. However, when put in that situation, Esther did one thing that all throughout Scripture we have numerous examples of. She went to people she could trust with a godly example and said, "Here's what's in front of me. What do I do? Pray for me." She took her questions and she went to someone who might be able to help her find an answer. As we've been going through this series called Doubt It, we've been talking about having questions. That having questions isn't a strange thing. That you aren't alone in having your questions. That all Christians don't get together and have everything figured out and then look back at the one questioning person and go, "Wow, that person's a real loser." Instead, we're all asking questions and we're all at different levels of figuring them out. And as you go through and as you ask different types of questions, some of them start out simple and then some of them get really complex. But in all of our questions, one thing will always hold true. God has put people around us that we can talk to about them. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18 says, "The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn. It shines brighter and brighter until the full day, but the path of the wicked is like darkness, and they don't know what they're stumbling over." It paints this picture of King Solomon when he's writing the book of Proverbs going, when you want to make decisions, look to the people whose paths are lit. Imagine standing in the midst of a dark forest. You can't see anything around you. Birds flying overhead, fluttering. You hear owls. You hear things scurrying on the ground, but you can't see any of it. Lo and behold, little by little, the sun starts to rise, and you see little rays of light start to shine. And then they get brighter, and then it starts to illuminate the trees, and then it starts to reflect off of the dew and off of the water on the trees, and all these things, and pretty soon you can see the entire landscape around you. All your fears are quelled. All your doubts are gone. Why? Because light has clarified and expelled the darkness and shown you where it is that you're standing. That's the picture that Solomon paints of wisdom, of those who follow after God, those who make the right decisions, those who spend time with other followers of God, other believers. It's like the light of dawn. It gets a little brighter, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and it gets brighter, and soon you can see it's illuminated and it's clear, and you're not going to trip over the things that you used to, because you no longer have the same questions. Now you have new ones, but you know what direction you're going in to get your answers. Back to Esther. So she goes before the king, and of course, there's still that worry, and the king immediately extends the scepter to her because she's found favor. She might not have done it on her own if she hadn't sought the wisdom and the guidance from her cousin Mordecai, from the Jewish people, and said, "What do I do? Will you lift me up? Will you fast for me?" And they did. So Esther went before the king, and you can read the book yourself. It's not very long. But in the end, the people were saved. Haman, who made the plan in the first place, was hanged on his own gallows that he made for the Jews. There's this big sense of God shows up and there's justice. Why? Because Esther took the time to ask, I don't know well enough myself, but I bet someone else does. So who are those people for you? There's different roles that leaders and that influences can fill in our lives. Maybe it's a cheerleader. Maybe it's that person that builds you up and encourages you so you know when you're down, they're going to lift you up and they're going to help you. Maybe change the color that you're feeling. Then there's those people who are more like the counselors. And you know you can bring your problems, you can talk to them, and they might give some advice, they might give some wisdom, and they might just point you in the right direction, but you know they're not going to steer you wrong. And there are so many different roles that people can fill. So what are some of the roles in your life? A pastor, someone who guides you spiritually. The friend who walks alongside you and says, I've got the same questions, but let's walk it together. Let's ask them, and let's go find someone else that can help us. Whatever those roles are, whoever those people are, remember, you aren't alone in your questions, and God doesn't want you to ask your questions alone. You're not only bringing people with you, beside you, behind you, you're also looking ahead to the people that have climbed a little bit further up the mountain than you and asking them for a hand up.
It's Colby again. So the big idea of this week's lesson was that even when we doubt, we can know that there are godly people who are there to help us with our questions. So I'll say it again. We might be stuck at home, but there is many different ways that we can still connect with one another. Are you taking advantage of this time? Have you reached out to those in your small group? Have you reached out to your small group leaders? Godly people can help us with our questions. They can encourage us when we need it. And there is a lot of people here at Access that want to be there for you in this exact way. Are you taking advantage of it? But nevertheless, see you next week and hang in there.